Hey friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Let's get straight to the point. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the new thriller books releasing in 2026 that I am most excited for. There are so many good books coming out. I am so blown away by the amount of books that I was like, definitely have to read that, definitely have to read that, must read that. There's so many from like the authors that I always auto buy from, and I'm just really excited. So I'm gonna go through month by month to make it easier, and let's just see what we have. This is not even gonna be all of them because it's really hard for me actually to find which ones are coming out. Sometimes a good old Google search just doesn't do the trick, so let's get right into it. I have my handy dandy list right here that I made. Just a disclaimer, if you see me talking about a book and maybe I say the release date wrong or I get the month wrong or the day wrong, I'm only human, so there's definitely not a 100% accurate list here in my hands, but we're close enough, so let's just go with the flow, starting with January. In the lovely month of January, we have The Storm by Rachel Hawkins, Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston, It Should Have Been You by Andrea Mara, Dead in the Water by John Mars, My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney, A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James, Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden, and The Swamps by Serafina Novaglass. This is a stacked list. I honestly think January might be like the biggest month of releases all year from what I know so far. I do already own a few of these. I have The Storm by Rachel Hawkins. This is probably one of the ones I'm most excited for. It's over by my bed because I just started reading it last night. So far from what I could tell, I've only read the very first chapter, but it's about a murder that took place in a very small town during a huge hurricane. It's got true crime vibes. Like one of the characters that was involved with the person that was murdered it sounds like she's about to be telling like her side of the story in true crime format. Just from the very first chapter alone, it's very atmospheric and I definitely think I'm gonna love this one. The next one is Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. This is the same author as First Lie Wins. I don't know how many of you have read this book, but when it first came out, it blew up and I felt like this was one of those books that was either you absolutely loved it or you absolutely hated it. This book I loved, and it reminded me so much of this series that used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but it was called The Imposters, and I loved that series. I thought it was so much fun. This book was like a book version of that. It was very similar, and because of that I loved it. So with that being said, Anatomy of an Alibi is 100% going on my list to read. The next one we have is It Should Have Been You by Andrea Mara. I don't know what this one is about. Let's look it up real quick. A psychological thriller about a suburban nightmare that starts when a woman accidentally sends a gossipy text meant for her sister to her local community WhatsApp group, leading to death threats and a murder with the victim sharing the same address as the protagonist. This is definitely giving psychological thriller, probably with like a really crazy twist. Andrea Mara is the author of All Her Fault, which I recently just learned about this author, although apparently she is very popular and has a lot of books, all of which I want to read now. All of Her Fault blew up pretty recently because it was turned into a TV series and everyone just says it's really good. I'm not huge on TV, so I feel like I never get around to watching the actual shows that come out based on these books, but I do want to read the book and therefore want to read all her books and therefore need to read this new one. Then the books coming out by the super popular authors that pretty much everybody reads. We've got Dead in the Water by John Mars, My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. I can't wait to read this one. I have heard nothing but good things. Then of course we have Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden, which I have and have already read. I loved this book. This was some of her best work yet, I have to say. It's definitely different from her other books, which I really feel like is great for Frida McFadden because a lot of people complain that all her books are the same, all of her twists are the same. This one just felt really different and I really loved it. It's more of a domestic psychological thriller. It follows a woman who is a mom. She's an advice columnist, she's a housewife, and she spends her time giving people advice, but when things in her own life start to fall apart, she decides to start taking her own advice and like standing up for herself, but it involves a lot of sinister revenge, and it just makes the story so much fun. I really loved this one. Then we've got A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James. This is another author that has a lot of books. I haven't read all of them, but the ones that I have read, I've really enjoyed. So needless to say, her coming out with a new book is just going to be an auto buy for me. And then speaking of auto buy, we have The Swamps by Serafina Nova Glass. She is an author that I recently became obsessed with, and I have read, so far I've read 3 of her books, maybe? 4 of her books? Okay, I've read 3. I've read 3 of her books, and the 4th book I did try to read, and I actually wasn't feeling like it was for me, so I did DNF one. However, I loved the other 3 enough to where she's still an auto-buy author for me. I'm not gonna let one book I didn't really vibe with, like, ruin that for me. So I'm very, very, very excited for The Swamps. Let's move on to February, for which I only have 3 books. Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams, Adrift by Will Dean, and The Girls Before by Kate Alice Marshall. The only one of these that I have currently is Adrift by Will Dean. I have heard this is really, really good, and I love Will Dean. Will Dean is the author of one of my all-time favorite books, which is The Last Thing to Burn. You have probably seen me rave about that one, but I will read anything that he writes because of that book. This one follows Peggy and Drew, who are both aspiring writers, and they move to an isolated canal boat with their smart and sensitive 14-year-old son. As Drew becomes frustrated by his wife's sudden writing success, he moves their boat further and further from civilization. When Drew's suspicious behavior and gaslighting becomes impossible to ignore, a series of catastrophic events is set off. Honestly, it sounds like the type of book where this character is really gonna piss me off, and I hope that, like, he gets what he deserves in the end. So I'm excited for this because I love a book like that. Then we have The Girls Before by Kate Alice Marshall. I think I've read all of her books so far, and they have been hit or miss, I must admit, but I still, like, want to read more from this author. This one is a psychological thriller about a search and rescue expert, Audrey, who investigates the kidnapping of a teenage runaway, uncovering a decades-old mystery connected to her own missing best friend and a local folklore about a forest witch. A psychological thriller, but also almost sounds like it's gonna blend the supernatural. I'm just intrigued. I will read anything this author writes at this point. Then we have Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. I feel like it's been a while since he has put out a new book. However, I have been a fan of everything that I've read from him so far, and this one sounds intense. It's about 2 friends whose caving, like going into caves, turns into a fight for survival after they encounter a stranger underground and a terrifying ordeal in the claustrophobic tunnels. This sounds terrifying. February is gonna be small but mighty. Let's move on to March. In March, we have The Only One Who Knows by Lisa M. Matlin, Strangers in the Villa by Robin Harding, The Truth About Rudy Cooper by Liz Nugent, What We Did to Survive by Megan Lally. I am so freaking stoked for all 4 of these. I do already own The Only One Who Knows by Lisa M. Matlin. This is the same author as, what's that one called? The Stranger Upstairs was her first book, I believe, and I really enjoyed that book. That was a fun time. It's been a while though. I feel like unless there was a book released between then and now, it's been a couple years. This one intrigues me because there's a shark fin on the cover. I love a beach-themed thriller, and if it has anything to do with the sharks, I'm automatically intrigued. So I hope that's not misleading. It's not misleading. I'm so excited. A disgraced TV news reporter returns to her violent hometown to investigate a series of deadly shark attacks. This is kind of sinister of me, but I've always been fascinated by shark attacks, so I feel like this is just gonna be a good book. Let's talk about some of these other bangers, because we have Robin Harding's book, Strangers in the Villa. Robin Harding wrote The Drowning Woman. I absolutely love that book. She also has a few other books that are so underrated and, like, not talked about as much. She has The Arrangement. She has, I think it's called The Perfect Family, possibly. I don't remember what that one was called, but, like, her stories are great. It follows a husband and a wife who are trying to mend their marriage, and they move into a Spanish villa only to have their isolation disrupted by 2 Australian travelers who overstay their welcome. It's classified as a psychological thriller, which I love. Then we have The Truth About Rudy Cooper by Liz Nugent. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get my hands on this book. I'm pretty sure her books release in the UK before they release in the US. I have to look into it. I just haven't yet because I don't want to disappoint myself if I can't get my hands on it as soon as it releases. But Liz Nugent is an auto-buy author for me. She's one of my absolute favorites. I loved every single one of her books that she has written, and this, I can't imagine that this is going to be anything less than a love. I'm not going to look up what this one is about though, because I love going into her books blind, so if you're interested you'll have to check it out for yourself. But we're just going to move on to the next one I'm really excited about, which is What We Did to Survive by Megan Lally. Megan Lally has two other books, one which I absolutely loved and one which I honestly didn't. And so this one I'm so excited for because like it's like chasing the high that I got from the first book of hers that I love, which if you're wondering is That's Not My Name. That was the very first book that she wrote and I absolutely loved it. Her second book, was it called No Place Left to Hide? That, I don't know if that's right, because I'm just terrible at remembering when the camera's recording, okay? But basically I didn't care for that book very much, so we'll see what happens with this third book of hers. Moving on to April, there's going to be another banger month. Lucinda Berry is releasing another book. It's called Her First Lie. I'm not sure what this one is about either. This is another author I like to go into blind because I know it's like always going to be a good time. But basically, yeah, you can count on her for a good book pretty much every time. Then we have The Caretaker by Marcus Kleiwer, Close to Home by Serafina Nova Glass. She's releasing 2 books this year. And then we have Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. I do own a copy of The Caretaker already. This is from the same author as We Used to Live Here, which this is another book that was you either loved it or you hated it. Me, I loved it. I feel like I'm always with the minority on books that like get a lot of hate. I feel like I love those ones. This is one that I want to go into blind. Like it doesn't even have like a lot of detail on the back of the book. I just know that it's about someone who takes a job as a caretaker, and that's all I know. That's all I want to know for this one, but I have very high hopes for that book. Let's look up the synopsis for Close to Home. A psychological thriller about a seemingly perfect suburban community where a car bomb meant for the protagonist kills someone else, exposing dark secrets and a web of lies that threaten to destroy everyone. This one actually sounds really different than her other stuff. Also, it's called Too Close to Home, not Close to Home. Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. This one is about an 81-year-old woman who is secretly Mabel Walker, Australia's youngest convicted murderer from the 1950s. But when a neighbor dies, her past is uncovered and a new investigation forces her to confront her history, which is explored through dual timelines. This sounds fantastic. This is really reminding me of Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This book definitely had like a bit of a satire element, which was just really, really fun. So I'm curious to see if Mad Mabel will be anything similar. But yeah, this definitely is gonna be read immediately. Let's move on to June. There's really not that many left because I'm only going up to August, just because I couldn't find anything after August. But for June, we have 2 books. It Could Have Been Her by Lisa Jewell and He Told Me Not to Look by Liv Constantine. Lisa Jewell is an author that I'll always read, although I will say that she can be very hit or miss. However, I feel like that's not to be unexpected because she has so many books, like they can't just all be for me. I'll always still give her books a try just because it might be a hit. Also, I have FOMO, so if it is a really good book and I miss out on it, like I can't handle that. It is classified as a psychological thriller. Obviously, those are the books that I gravitate toward the most. The story follows Jane as she returns a dog to a mysterious house in London where she recognizes it from a night 25 years prior when she narrowly escaped a dangerous situation, leading her to investigate the disappearance of the dog's owner. This sounds really good. Definitely excited for this one. Okay, let's address the Liv Constantine book because I'm completely wrong about this. Somewhere, somehow, I saw that she was releasing a book in June called He Told Me Not to Look, but now that I'm looking into it on my phone right now, I don't think that's accurate at all. However, she is releasing a book called Promise Me Never, and that is going to be in July. Along with a few other releases in July, we have Getting Away with Murder by Sherry LaPena, Buyer Beware by Catherine Ryan Howard, and 3 Reasons for Revenge by Dervla McTiernan. So Liv Constantine, Promise Me Never. I actually can't even find a synopsis on this one. Where did I get the idea that she was coming out with a book called He Told Me Not to Look? I'm very confused, and I hope that you are too, so that I'm not alone. Let's just move on. Getting Away with Murder by Sherry LaPena. I've heard it a million different ways and I always say it different every time. She's an auto-buy author for me. I feel like her writing is extremely specific. She always has a million different characters, a million different point of views. The story will take place in a neighborhood and every single person in the neighborhood is part of the story in some way. If you're not paying attention, it can be easy to get lost in her writing. However, I have a very good time with her books. I have read almost all of them. I think there's only one book of hers I haven't read yet, but I have pretty much enjoyed every single one of them. The last one that she released, I actually read just barely this month and loved it. This one is about a couple who plot to murder a wealthy family member in order to solve their own financial troubles. I'm calling it right now, this is gonna be a good one. Why do I love a messy plot like that? That is just so funny. Buyer Beware by Catherine Ryan Howard, another very popular thriller author. This one has a very basic, common plot line. It's about a woman named Ellie who moves into a new house seeking a fresh start, only to discover that the house holds dark secrets and they put her in danger as she uncovers its disturbing history. Books like this can definitely be hit or miss, but in my opinion, they're always worth a try. 3 Reasons for Revenge by Dervla McTiernan. I've recently just discovered this author. I read What Happened to Nina and thought it was phenomenal. That was like such an incredibly well-told story. I don't know if you're familiar with the case of Gabby Petito. This was like such a big case not too long ago that everybody was questioning and it just got a lot of media attention. But basically, this book is extremely similar to that story. A boyfriend and a girlfriend go out on an adventurous trip and he comes home without her, but nobody has heard from her. He says they got into a fight and they broke up and that he left and she stayed, but where is she? Anyway, this was an awesome book, so I want to read more from this author. I already have a couple more books from her lined up to read soon, and when I saw she was releasing a new one, it just went on my list automatically. This one is a psychological thriller about a woman who disappears after reporting an assault. It says that this leads to a series of revenge plots that target 3 unrelated people and a detective that races to connect the cases together and uncover the truth. Definitely very excited to read this one and to read more from this author. Moving on, the last month that I have books for is August, and in August we have The Unknown by Riley Sager, Heart of Glass by Jennifer Hillier, The Woman in White by Sarah Pekkanen, and They Say a Girl Died Here by Sarah Pinborough. Let's address the elephant in the room, okay? The Unknown by Riley Sager. Riley Sager's last, handful of books have been huge misses for me. However, I might still want to read this one. I don't know, I'm on the fence. Let's find the synopsis for it. In 1926, 5 women disappeared from a remote island in Vermont. Now, 100 years later, it's happening again. I really need this book to have more of a thriller/horror vibe with a fast-paced plot rather than a lot of his other books that focus more on a suspenseful mystery slow burn plot. When he does that writing style, that's not for me, but his fast-paced books, I really enjoyed several of those, especially with the horror or supernatural aspect thrown in. We'll see where it goes, I'm unsure. Heart of Glass by Jennifer Hillier. She's an auto-buy author for me. I'm not gonna look into what this one is about because I'm gonna go in blind. I love her. She has no skips at all, no misses. I love all of her books. The last 2, The Woman in White by Sarah Pekkanen, and then also They Say a Girl Died Here by Sarah Pinborough. I haven't read books from either of these authors, I don't think. However, I'm very familiar with their names. They're very popular authors, and so I'll probably read them. The Woman in White. In 1964, 4 women at a university vanish after psychic experiments. Decades later, a caretaker for one survivor uncovers the truth, revealing parallel stories and hidden dangers. So it sounds like this one's going to blend a bit of a historical timeline with a present timeline, possibly supernatural elements maybe? It definitely sounds intriguing. I'll for sure give this one a try. Let's look at the other one by Sarah Pinborough. This one follows 17-year-old Anna, who moves with her family to her grandmother's hometown, which is a place haunted by unsolved murders and a drought. The story follows Anna as she deals with a traumatic, forgotten night in her own past, while her grandmother's Alzheimer's worsens, leading to eerie eerie proclamations that seem connected to the town's dark history and the murders. This one sounds like it has a lot of depth and a lot of mystery elements. This can be hit or miss for me because sometimes, like, when I want a thriller, I want like a fast-paced page-turner, short chapters, every chapter leaving me on a cliffhanger where I need to know what happens next. And sometimes these more like slow burn, small town mystery types of books just don't grab my attention enough for me to like really get into the story. So I might be on the fence with this one. I'll probably wait until reviews come in, and if everyone's like raving about it, then of course I'm gonna have FOMO and I'll have to read it at that point. But yeah, for right now, not sure. So that's all I have, guys. We went all the way to August, and there are some seriously, seriously good books coming out. Making this list was a lot of fun because it almost feels like window shopping. As you can see, I did not know what a lot of these were about, but I added them to my list either because the book looked good, the title looked good, or the author name looked good, and that's literally all it takes for me. I want to know if there are any other books that you guys are excited to read, specifically in the thriller category, that I didn't mention, because if I didn't mention it, it's probably because I don't know about it. So please let me know about it because FOMO. I am so excited for this next year. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate every single one of you. If you've made it this far, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to see more future content from me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.